Hey, I'd like to welcome you to another episode of Mission Matters. My name is Adam Torres, and if you'd like to apply to be a guest in the show, just head on over to missionmatters.com and click on Be Our Guest to apply. All right, so today is a special interview. We're bringing back Roy White onto the line. He's the CEO of Strategic Technical Solutions and Consulting. And I'm proud to say a newly minted author in our best-selling Business Leaders book series. So, hey, Roy, first off, just welcome back and congrats, man. You're a published author.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Glad to be here, and thank you for having me.
All right, Roy. So it's been a lot of fun working with you through this publishing journey. We've done interviews, we published a book together. I mean, a whole lot, that and a whole lot more, and excited to get more into the book, of course, and your contribution. And of course, we're going to talk about strategic technical solutions and consulting. But before we get into all of that, we'll start this episode the way that we start them all. You already know the drill, with our Mission Matters Minute. So, Roy, we at Mission Matters, we amplify stories for entrepreneurs, executives, and experts. That's our mission. Roy, what mission matters to you?
The mission of giving back to the community and making sure that your leadership is impactful, not only professionally but personally as well. You kind of create the world that you want to live in.
Yeah, it's great. Love bringing mission-based executives and entrepreneurs on the line to share why they do what they do and really what we can all learn from that, so we all grow together. So great having you back on. And just to dive right in, I don't want to assume that maybe some of our newer listeners or audience maybe caught some of our previous work together. So let's just start with your background. I mean, how did you get started in the business?
Previously after the military, I worked for a couple contracting companies and found myself, wanting to explore owning my own business, which, I had the opportunity to with my previous company, and really had that knack for leadership. And as I mentioned in the book about Chief Turner, I wanted to be, I wanted to ensure that my leadership was impactful on the people around me, like he did, the rest of us.
Yeah, it's so I want to stick on the background just a little bit longer before we get into the book.
Okay, all
So
right.
if we're kind of working your way up and going from military to entrepreneurship, I mean that transition period, like tell us a little bit more about that, because I know that there'll be some other veterans and individuals may be planning on exiting might be thinking of going that entrepreneurial route. Like, what kind of things would you tell them?
Gather as much information as you can. I usually tell a lot of people to chew the meat and spit out the bones. There's a lot of stuff that people will tell you, that could be true, that, and do your own research. The more informative you are going into this, the more successful you can be. And I think that, being prepared as one of the things we're taught in the military is, the key to to executing the right plan. And I think that, as you start to transition, you kind of feel yourself, drifting away from that military life, into civilian life. And, the support factor, there's no safety net there, for you to do it. So, a lot of it is just stay the course, and be prepared and, ready to execute.
Man, that sounds like a book title, by the way. Chew the meat and spit out the bone. No, I don't know. I'm like, that's a good one. So as you were kind of getting further along on this entrepreneur side of things, like I know that I know for myself, I'll speak for myself. I can look back and I can think of all kinds of things that I'm like, man, I should have thought of this, or I could have done this. And I in hindsight, hindsight's 2020, right? You look back and say something could have been done differently. But is there anything that, like, as you look back into your entrepreneur career, you're like, man, I would have tweaked that a little bit or changed that a bit? Like anything that you would have looked back and kind of changed a bit?
Yeah, one of two things. One of the things is, I would have followed my gut a little more,
Mhm.
trusting myself, things like that. I think that some of the things that I, endured and uh have been through have, contributed to the fact of the matter that, I had the internal insecurities and things like that. And I think we all do as a leader, especially
For
when we
sure.
have a lot of pressure to make sure that things are right at home and at work.
Mhm.
the second part, if I may add, is, just ensure that, you keep yourself and don't lose it in the business is what I mean. And I mean, a lot of times, we get so involved that we forget about, the outside world and everything else in it and things like that. And, you can have a lot of casualties behind, that, and, hurt a lot of people and things of that nature in your blaze. You may be a public success and a private failure, but, you never do know that. And I mean, I've experienced all of those, and those are probably the most important things that I would tell anybody, or if I could go back and change anything, I would do.
Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing that. And the reason I asked that question, by the way, is I know there's other entrepreneurs out there that are going through it, at different stages of their career. Some are already on the other side. Some are just starting. Some are in the middle of it. And your words are going to be like, I'm not the only one, right?
Yeah, right.
So
and that's what I
like
plan to do.
Our show is also a bit of an entrepreneur support group, right?
No problem.
So let's talk a little bit about the book. So your topic within the book, so core values strengthen your life and your business. A lot of different things that you could have written about. How do you want to start this? Like, why this?
Well, I mean, I didn't understand what core values were until, I went in the military. But, you kind of go through things and you'd be like, oh, well, that's what that means. And, that's why I'm doing this, and, things like that. And, that, people along the way helped you and installed that, in you in one way or another, either through discipline, correction, or, just accountability. And, you never really recognize that until, later on down the road, and you have those aha moments or whatever. So I thought maybe, alerting people of those aha moments, and things like that, like, hey, message, the foot stomp or whatever you used to do when you had tests and things, they were trying to give you the answer. And, if you're prepared to, receive that type of constructive criticism or information, to make you a better person or to make you a better leader, I mean, it makes you, prepared to be, successful in life, especially if you're trying to, create the world that you want to live in, right?
Yeah. And so in the book, you share a couple of stories. Maybe go into a little bit of the content and what you wrote and why.
Yeah. Just, I went into, one of the stories that, primarily, like I said, I mentioned Chief Turner, which was, one of my first supervisors coming in the Air Force. You don't understand, like leadership until you directly been under it. And, prior to that, single family household, things like that with my grandmother and things of that nature. Yes, my father was in my life, but, it was one of those things where, you didn't really have a lot of that direction. And then to get under somebody that showed you, just admiration and love constantly, it made you feel like, even though you didn't feel like you could do it, you could do it.
Yeah.
And being able to do that, to people, and do that in return kind of got me to where I was today. And, I know that, the kids that I touch, the kids that I help and things like that with my, bringing them exposure to technology and cyber and things like that, and getting them excited, early on. And I wish I had somebody, and we had that conversation, you and I, getting us excited about the different things that they could do in this world early on in life, when that they're probably not getting that conversation at home. Other business owners aren't having that conversation. Nobody's coming back and saying, I appreciate you, or patting you on the back. As long as you sign the checks, that's all that matters, right?
Yeah. Totally. No, I totally get it. And I did want to bring that up because I think that your niche and your way of helping the community. Well, one of the things I like about it is that sometimes, we don't realize what we have to give back. So meaning you have this expertise in tech and this ability to introduce the youth to this whole field that maybe they didn't know was even available to them. Maybe tell us a little bit more about that and kind of how you're working in the community and providing that exposure.
Yeah, so I'm working with a couple nonprofits, and one of the things that we primarily do is the Patriot Technology Center, Mr. Thurman Jones. He's been doing this for like 29 years, and he gave me an opportunity to provide kids with a an exposure to,
Mm.
with us getting more reliant on technology and things like that. Kids, during COVID everybody got email addresses and things like that, which makes you
Wow.
a target for phishing and things of that nature. The kids, were dealing with many different things going through these issues, but getting them to be cyber aware and things like
Mm.
that, understanding the different avenues there are out there about work and career and things of that nature, and getting them excited about something more than what they see on TV. You can do this, you can be this, and
Mhm.
you can provide the same thing to the community as I have, and use my influence to help those kids see that there's a lot more to
Mhm.
this world. Has been a blessing to me through my pain and trauma and things like that. I've been able to bless others.
Did you say over 20 years that that organization's been running?
Yes, sir.
Wow, that's amazing. How like advanced and how like far ahead to try to introduce the youth to technology, like even way back then, right? Like I'm thinking about
Yes.
what I was doing 20 years ago. It wasn't that.
Yeah, and I mean, and it's that gap,
Yeah.
that we all see and understand that, hey, we've been pushed to use technology, but I
Mhm.
mean, what am I using it for? Why am I doing it? What is
Yeah.
this? And a lot of people are intrigued to understand why. And I think if they understand why, they'll understand to protect,
Mhm.
and and in that process, be a better human about it and things like
Yeah.
that.
I know another organization you're working with is Run Hope Work. Tell
Yeah.
us a little bit more about that.
So I teamed up with them to help out with a grant program that they have, and I'm helping them organize and set up their IT support as they begin to create a ecosystem of
Mhm.
students through cohorts to help them get jobs, in IT and construction, but learn how to do things internally. Shout out to Mr. Leonard Howard and his team down there, because we've really the first cohort graduates on Friday and things like that, and hoping
Wow.
that at least 7 out of the 11 have been placed already in jobs, and
Get out of here. That's amazing.
so we're really moving along.
Even before finishing the program, yeah?
I'm just helping along from the technical side and giving the
Yeah.
technical expertise and things like that of what we need and how we need to get it done. And I very grateful to be a part of, the things that they're doing.
That's an accomplishment right there.
Yeah.
Let's go. I want to shift gears here a little bit and talk a little bit more about your company. So, Strategic Technical Solutions and Consulting. So,
Mhm.
tell us a little bit more about what you do and maybe who you work with.
So now, it's kind of shifted, and, I told you that as well.
Yeah.
My focus, my focus has been more so about working in the community and things like
Mm.
that, and working with organizations to help them from the strategic side of the technical aspects of marketing, as well as building business, and as well as business infrastructure. It's
Mm.
been kind of that supportive role of being an advisor to help them get along with things of that nature, as far as what they need to do, and this
Mhm.
is how you execute and things like that, and providing those footprints, because I know, even though they have to learn their own way,
Yeah.
to do it, it's just treating every being agnostic to every way and everybody's thought process, and
Mhm.
understanding how to help them grow from that.
Yeah. And it also like you help them kind of lay out that roadmap for like their tech stack, or like let's get in the weeds a little bit, because I wanna have, I mean, a lot of business owners, a lot of executives watch this show, and I want to
Mhm.
make sure that if you're their guy, that they reach out. So are you helping them with like their tech stack, their back end? Like tell us a little
Yeah,
bit
it's from the infrastructure within. A lot of people don't know what they don't know, and
more.
having my expertise as as a business owner in the past, and the IT side, and
Yeah. Hmm.
understanding, even talking to different business owners and understanding that they have different issues and they approach different issues because of, a HR person isn't going to protect their home network like,
Yeah.
like an IT person is,
Yeah.
and, you're not going to have all the IT procedures if you're, but marrying those and using the connections and the people that I've known, to help marry together all the resources that an organization needs or whatever has been, very fruitful from the aspect of, being able to help others and that feeling at the end of that.
What is so, and I don't want to generalize too much here, but I know that like you go into a new organization and sometimes the same themes tend to apply or tend to come up. What are some of those themes or those gaps or those loopholes where you're like, oh, gotta fix this? Like, what are some of those common ones that just tend to come up over and over again?
Kind of that's the way it's always been done, type
Uh,
mentality, or the rejection of change. That's primarily what my master's was in. I mean, we had a great curriculum behind
do you
organizational
cringe? Do you
change.
get scared once you hear that's the way we've always done it?
Yeah,
A
because
little bit, you're like, here we go.
it's a barrier, that's already letting you know that they're rejecting change before they even get to see what it is. So you don't know what I'm going to change, but you're saying that you're rejecting the change, and it kind of builds, a barrier automatically that that person isn't going to listen. You're already turned off at that point.
Yeah.
So I'm saying? So getting to that person is probably the last person that you're going to try to influence or change immediately. Most importantly, sometimes you would want to get into them, kind of meet with them in the beginning just to kind of, especially if they're a stakeholder, but understanding that a lot of people are set in their ways and it's always worked this way, but now you have to pivot a little bit. If you want to expand, yes, you're still down that road, but you're still doing the same thing that you've been doing. It hasn't changed. So when does that well run dry, or do you expand and do you start to look outside of the box and see that there's something else out there for you?
Well, Roy, that's the way we've always done it. No,
Yeah.
had
That's
to
it.
do
I
it.
mean,
Had to do it to you.
yes, that's like I said, that's probably the biggest barrier. Other than that, when people have, the true, culture of true growth mindset and understanding that they want to progress, and the team wants to progress and do things efficiently, because yes, you're in a business, especially a small business, you have to choose to do less with more, do more with less.
Yeah.
And doing more with less, it means that a lot of people are going to get bogged down. There's going to be bottlenecks and things of that nature. But when you find efficient ways to work together and say, hey, I'm going to streamline this so that we can do this, and use technology to help the business, operate. I mean, it's a win-win.
Yeah, it's great. Well, Roy, I got one last question for you here today, actually, and that is, for your book. I want to circle back to the book.
Okay.
What do you hope that your readers kind of take away from this, like after they put the book down and they read your writing? What do you hope they get?
You know, the understanding that the journey and the endurance of the journey, you're going to learn things along the way, and you can't look at every lesson or blessing as something that may not be it may not be that gratifying at that point. But later on down the road, it may contribute to something else. And I didn't know that my grandfather, his business and his influence was going to lead to me having my own business. I just inspired to want to do it. Or Chief Turner making me want to be a leader and a better leader because of the way he made me feel and things like that. Or my basketball coaches, or me pouring back into the community and things like that. I think that really contributes to who I am and how I see that a lot of people should want to see being a good human and continuing on to create the world that they want to live in.
It's a great story, great success story, Roy. And again, it was great. I'm excited to continue promoting this book with you. We're just getting started on the promo. If somebody, oh, by the way, I think I lied. So if I got one more question. If somebody wants to connect with you or follow up, I mean, how do people reach out?
Most importantly, LinkedIn, things like that. kind of you got to screen. A lot of people do, come in and ask
Yeah,
for a
the
lot of this
connection on
stuff.
LinkedIn always
Yeah,
works to me. Just
yeah.
put that you saw the submission matters.
Yes, absolutely. And I'll definitely reach out. And I thank you for your time, man. Definitely.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, hey, again, appreciate you coming back on the show. And to the audience, as always, thank you for tuning in. Hope you got a lot of value out of this. Hope you learned a lot. I sure did. And if you did, and if this is the type of content that you like to explore, we bring on mission-based individuals and guests onto the show all the time. And we want to make sure you don't miss any episodes. So definitely hit that subscribe button. We have many more mission-based individuals coming up, and we don't want you to miss a thing. Roy, as always, it's been a blast, man. Thanks again for coming on.
No problem. Thank you. Have a good one.